Dr. McClarty, I have to make a confession here. I think that I kind of got a little confused on what the purpose of this talk was about, and I've come dressed as a home builder because I thought I was supposed to talk about different professions that maybe the audience might be interested in. But as I look out over the crowd, I believe that there aren't very many people here that want to build homes, but they might want to offer hope or build hope for others. So I'll do my best to make the correction and get past this little rocky start that we've started here. Welcome, everyone. I want to talk to you about the two building blocks that I've discovered are part of everyone's future. Can anyone tell me what letter is missing in this word? I. Have you ever felt like the choices that you make are insignificant and don't really matter? That they really don't impact your life or the community that you live in? I know I have felt that way. But I'm here to tell you tonight, I believe that one of the key components to every one of our futures is that our choices do matter. Our choices do impact lives of ourselves, our own life, and others around us. Let's look at the second building block of our futures. Hope. How many of you have ever run a 5K or a half marathon? Raise your hand. Well, a few of you have. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, I have also. If you've run a 5K or a marathon, those people that are on the sidelines as you're headed up that mountain that seems insurmountable, or those people that are at the finish line cheering you on, those are hope builders. They see the potential. In a few seconds, they can impact our lives more than hours or days of training. As you can see, I've brought a toolbox here, and I'm kind of dressed appropriately for that. And I would encourage you to think about what your strengths are. I've asked for some people to join me on stage, and they should be coming out anytime now. Let's welcome our volunteers, please. I have offered them some baggage out of my toolbox. And the lady on the end, would you please tell us what you believe the profession is that I've assigned to you?
I think it's a judge.
A judge. Is that something you would have ever dreamed of being or having a career as? Are you interested in studying law? No? But sometimes life hands us baggage, correct? Sometimes we're handed something that we don't necessarily want to own or do. Gentlemen in the white coat, what is your profession?
Cardio doctor.
Cardio doctor, okay. Yes, you are a heart doctor. Is that something you would want to do in life? No? No? Okay. Well, but see, I'm getting to assign to you what I think you should do, and I believe your profession should be a heart doctor. Gentlemen, what is your profession?
I'm a prisoner.
Did you choose that, or was it handed to you?
Well, it was by my actions.
By your actions. Well, sometimes we choose things that we wouldn't necessarily dream of being, but because of our choices, we have to take on that responsibility. Young lady, what is your profession?
A lady of the night.
How on earth did you guess that so appropriately? Yes. Is that something you really would have chosen?
No.
Well, of course not. Let's give a round of applause for our volunteers. Thank you for participating. The purpose of that little bit of experiment is to let us all think about, what do we take ownership of that someone else has handed to us, that maybe society expects of us? Are we owning or taking baggage that's not ours? If there's nothing that you remember from this talk after you leave here and you reflect on what you've heard, I want you to remember this. You are responsible for the choices that you make. Don't pick up the baggage of the harm, the hurt, some of those things that we try to own or other people want us to own. Don't carry that. Remember, your responsibility is to own the choices you make. So, you can choose to be the architect of your future. I would encourage you to dream big. If you have your phone with you, I want you to pull it out, and I want you to find where you put your notes, how you remind yourself of things. I want you to think about what you've always wanted to do, where you've always wanted to go, or who you've always wanted to be. Over the course of this talk, as things come to your mind, put that in there. When you leave here, build on that. Are you doing what you've dreamed of doing? Are you living the life that you've always wanted to? Are you going the places that you've always dreamed of going? Think back to when you were a child. What did you dream of doing, being, places you wanted to go? This is your life. The days, the minutes, they're limited for each of us. Are you dreaming? Are you living? Are you being? As I look out over the crowd, I see many interior designers. You see the potential in people. You see their beauty, what they were created to be, and you even offer them hope. Thank you. Thank you. The world is a better place because of that. I've brought a storybook with me. How many of you have had a story read to you recently? Oh, y'all have, well, a few out there, but most of you have been missing out. Listen up. The dark-haired little girl with the hazel-colored eyes grew up in the big city of Indianapolis. She was born the youngest of 6 children. When she was 6 weeks old, she almost died from whooping cough. The doctor called her a miracle baby. Her mother and father were divorced when she was very young. Her daddy was originally from New York, and he was a skilled carpenter and gardener, but he struggled with alcoholism to numb the pain from his childhood. The little girl remembered visiting her daddy in his Salvation Army shelter, where he repaired donated furniture to resell in the thrift store. Her mother completed school through the 8th grade and struggled to keep all 6 of the children clothed and fed. The little girl can remember her mom attending classes at Goodwill to get her GED. Although unable to accomplish this goal, her mom would do janitorial work and later was employed for several years at a local fast food restaurant. They lived in a 3-bedroom house. The little girl can remember the embarrassment of receiving government assistance for food and someone always having to help them out. She also remembers one year going to school with holes in her shoes and just seeming different than everyone else. The family did not own a vehicle for several years. They would walk, take public transportation, or someone would take them where they needed to go. Back before the little girl was born, ladies from a local religious organization befriended her mother. This gave her mom a sense of belonging as she chose to start her religious journey. Although well-intentioned, her mother was very easily manipulated and misguided. As time passed, this group controlled more and more of their daily lives. Rules determined their clothing and hairstyles, and whether or not they were permitted to watch or even own a television. She was spanked for watching TV after visiting her father's house. Jewelry and makeup were definitely not permitted. The little girl remembered her mom destroying any picture that she had of herself if she was wearing jewelry or makeup in it. She was a beautiful lady, and now all that the family had is a memory of those pictures. The list of do's and don'ts was quite lengthy, and it changed at the whim of new leadership. This legalistic environment required so much exterior perfection that many of the men acted out in sexual deviancies against the children. At the age of 7, a brother-in-law, who was also a church member, did inappropriate things to the little girl. As an adolescent approaching her teen years, another brother-in-law asked the mom if the little girl could come and stay during the week to help his 3 children get ready for school. See, his wife, the little girl's sister, was a lady of the night. He would buy the girl clothes, candy, perfume, things she didn't get at home. She remembers her sister coming in one evening and throwing money in her face, saying, "Here, you take this money. I've been out working to make it so that you can have it." She found out later that the man was encouraging his wife to make money this way. He even took the girl to his parents' house, who knew who she was, how old she was, and they protected him and didn't report him to law enforcement. One day, her mother found the letters in her bedroom with inappropriate messages from the man to the girl. The mother became very upset and told the girl that she could have done things differently to not tempt the man. She had the girl go pick a switch and spanked her for her actions. Within days, he made plans to take her from her home in the middle of the night through a bedroom window. He took her across several state lines to Florida, Missouri, and Texas, all the while avoiding law enforcement, except for the brother-in-law, who was an officer, who took them in and protected him again. At this time, she was 15 years old. Family, religious organization members, and educators who saw him drop her off at school daily did nothing to stop what was going on. She was away from her home for most of her freshman year of high school. The mother burned the girl's clothes and gave away her personal belongings while she was away. Her parents also remarried during this time. This caused the teen to question if she was the reason they weren't together all of those previous years. While away from home, she was introduced to things a child should never be exposed to: alcohol, drugs, pornography. In Missouri, she applied for a job at a hotel after giving her Social Security number and telling the manager that she was 18. She was hired because they did not check her records. She began to discover her independence and that the child predator couldn't control her. She decided to move in with friends, strangers, really. He became very mad and punched a refrigerator, breaking his hand. He went to where she was staying and convinced her to get to his place to sort through her belongings. Everything she owned, he had purchased for her. The teenager became very angry when she realized that he had passed his exit and he was taking her home to her mom and dad. She arrived home 2 weeks before her 16th birthday. Unfortunately, the child predator went on to hurt other children, and that's a story for another day. Uncertain of how she was going to handle her teenager, her mom sent her to a boarding school in Cincinnati. Due to missing most of her freshman year of high school, she was tested and placed directly into her sophomore year. She just had to double up on a few classes. She would work from 7 a.m. to noon at the school's reception area as their greeter and phone operator to help pay for her room and board. Everyone acted as if the abuse never happened. Counseling or therapy wasn't provided or even discussed. During this time, she would travel home on the weekends and was able to get to know her dad better. On Tuesday, February 11th, 1986, in her dorm room, she woke up from a dream where death was knocking on her door. She went to pull the curtain back and look out. As she pulled it back, the cloaked figure raised its hood, and she saw the face of her dad. The next morning, she told her roommate about it and decided it was probably something they had eaten the night before. 3 days later, on Valentine's Day, she went home for the weekend. Pulling into her parents' driveway and seeing all of the vehicles, she felt strangely prepared for the news of her dad's death that awaited for her on the other side of the door. It took years to unlock the pain with the key that had been provided to her in that dream. Due to financial difficulties, she returned home her second semester of her senior year to graduate with a senior class of over 700 students instead of the less than 30 in the previous class. She worked nights to help her mom pay their utility bills. She remembered on occasion being jostled awake by classmates in her first period chemistry class due to the lack of sleep. For years, she had difficulty trusting others and struggled with fear of abandonment. Due to the lack of protection from people that a child should be able to depend upon, she also wasted a lot of energy and time in her adult life being angry for what happened to her as a child. I see sadness on some of your faces, but I didn't come here to make you sad. I came here to offer you hope. See, that little girl was me, and I believe strongly in the ability of people to overcome difficulties in life through the choices that they make and the hope that is offered to them. The picture that you can see is the house that I grew up in. The little baby in the arms of the mother in this picture, that is me before my mother and dad were divorced. The little boy in that picture became a teenager that used to drive his dad home from the bars so that he wouldn't wreck another vehicle. But unfortunately, my brother continued in the steps of our dad. He drank so much in his life that he got to where his pancreas would not work. A little more than 5 years ago, he lost a lot of weight and was very ill. 2 weeks before he died, I talked about a choices presentation, this presentation that I give to students and adults. He asked me, he said, will you continue to help reach the kids who grew up like us? I'm doing my best to keep my promise. The choices we make impact our lives. This picture, you can see, I didn't go to alcohol. I went to food for comfort. I gained a lot of weight. In my 30s, my doctor told me that my blood pressure was 200 over 110. But see, people that have been abused sometimes will do things to harm themselves to cover up the pain that they feel. And that's what I did by overeating. So I didn't want to be unhealthy when I found out that I could possibly have a stroke. So I started walking. I started running. I ran a 5K. I ran a marathon. I've ridden bikes up mountains. And I've even jumped out of an airplane twice. I'm not sure that that contributes to healthy living, but it is exhilarating. I'm also a biker mom, and in my toolbox, I have a costume for that. What's in your toolbox? What are you doing, or what are you not doing that you want to do? Are you living life to its fullest? I have the opportunity now to live my dream. I get to work in our governor's office, Governor Asa Hutchinson's office, and I get to help make our state a better place for the children who are most vulnerable. But not only do our choices affect us, our choices also affect those that are closest to us. The two little girls in the middle of this picture, of this frame, those are my daughters. Had I left them when they were that age, where would they be? Would they have been able to go to the Wall of China, travel to Europe, go to law school? Maybe. But would it have been more difficult? Likely. So as we prepare to close, our choices are like the stitches in my first quilt. Some choices are mistakes needing to be ripped out and reconstructed again. Some lack perfection, but are strong enough to keep and to learn from, while other choices are perfect, all of them making up the masterpiece we call life. Let's go back. Remember the little I? I believe every choice you make is significant for your future and for the people that you care most about. Life is the sum of our choices. Thank you.